when it comes to blame and rumors and saying things that are untrue, we're going to have thoughts about that, right? So those are the things that we are seeing. That's our circumstance. These things are happening. What are our thoughts about it? It's driving us apart. Why would they do that? Why would my relatives spread rumors? They shouldn't spread rumors. That's gossip. They should know better. People shouldn't be spreading rumors. That's immature. What is this? Junior high? Right? We're going to have a lot of thoughts about everything that's taking place here. And so if that's our circumstance and those are the things that are actually happening, our job is not to control that other person. Our job is to control us and how we are going to respond, how we're going to think about things. And so we have got to really use the self-coaching model and check our thoughts. We need to tune in and say, what thoughts are coming up for me? Because they're probably going to be negative about the circumstance, and they're probably going to be like controlling. We're going to want to try to stop this behavior, and we're going to probably show up to that relationship with controlling tactics, with an agenda. And so we're going to add more to that relationship that actually breaks it down and makes things worse. We don't want to do that. We want to show up in a way that is going to say, this is happening, but we can work through it. We're mature enough, we're adults. Let's work through this. So I think part of this is kind of going back to that concept of radical acceptance. Like they shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't start rumors. They shouldn't say all this untrue stuff. And I think if we just kind of go, yeah, but humans do that, right? Let's remember nobody's perfect. I'm sure we've all been involved in a rumor from time to time. And if we haven't made that decision in our life, like, I'm not going to do that, it might happen again because we're imperfect. And so when we are able to remind ourselves about all of humanity's imperfections, including our own, we give this other family member also the grace and the space to be human, and that they're doing that. So we need to remember that we've probably done it, they're doing it, and all humans do that. We all mess up. We all make mistakes. We all get things wrong sometimes, right? This happens. So we really need to let go of the expectation that they should know better. They shouldn't be doing it, because that really creates the anger. And maybe they've just never done any thought work about this kind of stuff. So they just continue the things that they did in junior high. This is what happens for most people. Whatever they learned growing up, they just continue it. And so if they were a gossiper in junior high, they probably still are if they haven't made that decision to be different. So we need to let go of our expectations of what they should have learned and what they should now be doing as adults. They're on their own journey, and it's at their own pace. And so at this time in their lives, they haven't learned this concept yet, and that's okay. They haven't learned it yet, right? For now, they haven't learned it. And when we're able to think in those ways, it gives us so much more space and compassion for the humanness of everybody, ourselves included. One of my favorite concepts in life coaching that we try to teach, and this is a thought we can choose to think on purpose in situations like this, is I can let them be wrong about me. Right? Let them be wrong. Let them get it wrong. It's okay. Usually what ends up happening is over time, they discover that they were wrong. When we allow someone to be wrong about us, and we continue to keep the relationship moving forward using effective relationship skills, we allow them to go on that journey for themselves and to discover more about us. And that perhaps we aren't this horrible person that they are saying or suggesting, but they're actually a really good person. We're just human and we get things wrong and we make mistakes. So we allow them time to process and to learn. They don't have to know this stuff right now. There's no requirement. So we allow them to be wrong about us, and we prove them that we are actually a good person. But that takes time. We give them that time, give them that grace and time. The biggest conclusion that they will draw is that we're human and that we did something wrong, and everyone does it. Like, that's not a bad conclusion for them to draw. That's normal. That's true. The other thing that often comes up in situations like this is that when there's rumors and things like this, is we will want to defend and we will want to correct everything and say, all these things are not true and you've got it all wrong. I'm actually right. I'm actually the one that's right here. And we can become very defensive and very glued onto who's right and who's wrong. And this can really do a ton of damage. So we don't want to fall into this trap. And it happens all the time in relationships. Don't allow yourself to fall in the I'm right, you're wrong trap. Don't do that trap. You don't do that trap. So if you hear somebody talking in those terms where they're right and you're wrong and they're blaming you, just be like, oh, that's that trap. I don't do that trap. That way you don't fall into it. They're in it, but they don't know they're in it. You recognize it and say, I don't do that trap. I'm not going to fall into it. I think probably everyone's heard the question, like, do you want to be right in a relationship or do you want to be happy? Because those two things do not go together. There's nothing anywhere that says relationships like you have to be right. And how is that good for the relationship? Like, if that's your focus, I have to be right in order for this relationship to work. That's actually just super contradictory to how humans work, but our brain definitely goes there. We believe we have to be right, and we can really dig our heels into this idea, I have to be right. And we allow all kinds of relationships to go down the tubes in this very situation. Do we want to be right, or do we want to be love? We can be the concept of love. If someone's blaming us, even in that situation, we can be love. We can say, I don't want to blame. I want to be love. Bring all the blame. I take it. Bring all the blame. You'll find out in time. But for now, while you're on your process, while you're on your journey, I'm going to be love. Love wins. When we choose to be love and to embody love and to take action from love and say, I want to show up with love, even if they're doing all this stuff. Love never goes wrong. It doesn't take away from relationships that you're trying to build and keep going. Love wins. So we can be love even when someone else is not. We can be that.